Alright, hello and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel, and I showed this yesterday, the Fed pivot indicator. This is how it's calculated, and as you can see, this would tell us that we are getting very close to a Fed pivot. Since then, I noticed Lynn Alden pointed out that if the Fed gets up to 3% rates while the 5-year yield is also around 3%, then they would reach 900, over 900 by this formula. So where does 900 put us? Around about here. I'll try and keep my cursor as straight as possible. So you can see that this thing would be like an enormous breakout and a massive deviation from this trend if they're going to continue to hike rates into a slowing economy. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that. Bitcoin will make an all-time high within the next 24 months, says MD CoinShares. This comes at a time when Ethereum's weekly volume pattern has matched that of major bottoms previously, following a capitulation. So you can see capitulation with higher volume, capitulation with the highest volume, and we've had this again. So does this mean the bottom is in? Possibly, but as you know, CPI coming out later today, we'll see. Whilst we're on the subject of bottoms, Bitcoin's Pi cycle bottom has actually just flashed. So there's a little bit of a nuance to this in the sense that if we were to just V up out of here, I think it would actually negate the Pi cycle cross. So we do have to see a little bit of downside for this to be a confirmed bottom, but we have indeed seen the Pi cycle indicator flash. BMW has started selling heated seat subscriptions for $18 a month. So this is the Netflixification of everything. You'll own nothing and be happy. You will have to rent everything, and that includes the heat for your heated seats in your BMW, apparently. If this isn't evidence that we live in a simulation, I don't know what is. Multiple nations have collapsed this week alone. The average person on the street is completely unaware. 3 years ago, it would have been all anyone was talking about, and now it's barely a blip on the radar. It's a sign of the times, and it is a sign of the times that we're having to rent heated seats, and nobody is aware of these multiple nations that have collapsed. If you're unaware, then first of all, go back and watch my last two videos, particularly the one I did on Sri Lanka. If you are aware, then here is a whole list of places where there is civil unrest. Many of these countries are close to bankruptcy, or some of them even bankrupt. Many of them are kicking down the doors to their central banks. They've been bank runs in places like China. So it really is a sign of the times. The IMF chief said there's a growing risk of a debt crisis, and they're not wrong. It's the other 75% of people that are wrong. They don't understand the counterparty risk from banks, pensions, and financial systems. So the majority of people that think their money is safe in a bank, that are relying on their pension and think their pension is fine being looked after by a group of pension fund managers, it's them that doesn't understand that anytime you extend trust, whether it be to a vault to store your gold, whether it be to a pension to store your wealth, or whether it be to a bank to store your cash, each of these come with counterparty risk, and a very small number of people understand exactly how risky that counterparty risk is, especially in these sorts of times. For the 25% of people that do understand counterparty risk, then you will likely, if you're in this category, already be owning your crypto on your own cold wallet, already storing your own keys, taking true ownership of that crypto. And this is true of metals as well. And we can actually see that the 25% are pulling their metals from the vaults, from the dealers. Inventories of metals continue hitting new lows even as prices continue to fall, and there's no capex spending bringing in new mines either. So once we go back to expansionary times, we're not going to have the inventory cushion that we did have coming out of COVID, and metals are soon going to go vertical. From gold to Bitcoin, somebody has transferred just under $70 million in Bitcoin and paid just $5.77. This is the equivalent of this much, 0.00008% in transaction fee. No government, bank, or third party had to verify the transaction, nor could they have stopped it or seized it if they wanted to. So this is why we Bitcoin, because we do not want any counterparty risk. And for anyone that says that Bitcoin isn't money, well, the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland says the Lightning Network is turning Bitcoin into money. So here's a shot of the first page of the PDF, and you can see that the Lightning Network is a means of netting Bitcoin payments outside of the blockchain. We find a significant association between Lightning adoption and the reduced blockchain congestion, suggesting that Lightning has helped to improve the efficiency of Bitcoin as a means of payment. And so here you can see the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland. And for anyone suggesting that Bitcoin doesn't scale, well, the Lightning Network capacity hits a new all-time high of just over 4,200 Bitcoin. Bitcoin is scaling. Lightning is also being adopted worldwide, and Bitcoin payments company Foxbit has just implemented Lightning Network for instant payments. In other news, Twitter is suing Elon Musk in a Delaware court, alleging that he violated a $44 billion acquisition agreement. France is launching its second testing phase of the central bank digital currency, so perhaps we are getting much closer to this than people were originally thinking. The dollar bonds of Chinese developers are looking pretty ugly. Home buyers across 22 cities in China are refusing to pay mortgages, which could cause up to $83 billion of bad debt. We really need to keep our eye on China. There is civil unrest there at the moment. Things are not looking good. The US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen and the Bank of Japan's Suzuki have said they are willing to cooperate on forex issues as appropriate. Bitwise has considered suing the SEC for Bitcoin's ETF rejection alongside Grayscale, so that will be interesting to see if more and more people can jump on this train and start to take down the SEC. I would love to see that personally. But make no mistake, Bitcoin does not care. The tech adoption price curve doesn't care, and it does not result in diminishing returns in the long run. The stocks charted below Google, Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Amazon and Netflix during the adoption on top of Bitcoin's stock to flow model. So you can see in one of these S-curves that all the stocks are beneath, and when we enter this liftoff phase, we go parabolic once again. And so even though at the moment Bitcoin's price chart here being in the rainbow colored dots, even though at the moment this feels quite horrible, make no mistake, Bitcoin is going to do Bitcoin things over the next decade. We are, however, in that awkward phase of the market cycle where earnings growth is slowing and valuations are compressing. So you can see here, earnings per share growth has peaked. And the question from Jurian is, has the PE bottomed? Has the price to earnings ratio bottomed for now? You can see it's starting to round off, but perhaps we're not quite there yet. Given the severity of the PE compression, which is down 35% from a year ago, if the slowdown does not turn into a contraction, then we have likely reached the point at which things at least don't get any worse from here. And ongoing earnings growth, albeit slower than before, combined with steady multiples equals a modest uptrend for equities. That seems like the market's best hope at this point. In the UK though, economic growth has come in at 0.5% in May, surprising economist prediction because everyone thought it was going to be zero. So perhaps there's life left in this thing yet. Perhaps the growth concerns are somewhat overblown or premature. Or maybe this is a made-up number. Who knows? The 5-year break-even inflation, called the CPI bottom in 2020, with the break-even inflation rolling over, is CPI going to follow suit tomorrow? So you can see the break-even bottom first. And that led to CPI forming a low. And now we have it again, where the 5-year break-even rate in blue has topped and already pulled back. So is this going to lead CPI lower? Have we seen peak inflation, and perhaps are we going to get a surprise in inflation coming either this month or next month? In spite of everything, people like Dennis Porter, who are deeply wired into the Bitcoin space, is telling people that he is getting phone calls, private one-to-one phone calls from big names that are looking to aggressively dollar cost average into Bitcoin at these prices. Very bullish. Bitcoin had a message embedded into its 666,666th block. And I've got an image of that here for you. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Romans 12:21. So I thought that was nice. If you didn't know about the ability to embed a message into the blocks, well, now you know. There are plenty of them. I think the most famous one being the Genesis block, which has a Times headline that says Chancellor on the brink of second bailout for banks. So there's plenty of these Easter eggs around, but I thought this was a nice message. And so that's the news from me today. I will be back later with a video to do an update on the CPI number, the CPI number. For any technical analysis, that was all covered in yesterday's video, so you can go back and watch that. all of that still holds. None of it really is, for me at least, actionable until we get this CPI number, and then maybe give it an hour or two for the dust to settle. I expect an awful lot of volatility coming out of today, so anyone that is interested in the TA should go and check yesterday's video out. All of that definitely still holds. Like I said, I'll be posting an update on the CPI as and when the data comes out. I think it's about 8:30 US time, so look out for that around 3 o'clock from me. In the meantime, if you found value here, I'd appreciate it if you could drop a like on the video and subscribe if you're not already. And until then, take care, all the best, cheers, bye.